Investor or not, is a company everyone's heard of, Microsoft. Depending on how far back your relationship with the business goes, you may have heard it mentioned along the line. A dinosaur, dividend payer, old world, tech, whatever. If you started following them more recently, you may have heard the two words every investor loves to hear, growth company. So I'll start here with a little anecdote, tangent, whatever you want to call it. I attended George Mason University in Northern Virginia. George Mason, the man, is referred to often as the forgotten founder. He made large contributions to the U.S. Constitution. He's never mentioned in the context of Washington, Jefferson, etc. Similarly, I like to think of Microsoft as the forgotten FANG, because of a man named Jim Cramer, a decade or so ago, came up with an acronym for some of the largest tech stocks out there. For whatever reason, he omitted Microsoft. And as silly as it sounds, Microsoft does indeed get forgotten about in these conversations of tech companies. It's now the largest company in the world, has a more diverse set of revenue streams than many of the other FANG components. Looking at Netflix, growing faster than many of the other FANG companies. And it's ignored all because of this silly acronym that Jim Cramer made up. So as George Mason was a forgotten founder, Microsoft may be the forgotten FANG. Well, I'm here to say, let it be forgotten no more. So the Satya Nadella transformation. There was a time right after the departure of Steve Ballmer as CEO, things did not look bright for Microsoft. They were losing on all fronts, essentially. Xbox flipping versus the PlayStation, Windows losing out to Apple in the youth crowd, the debacle that was the Skype acquisition. I'm a Mac, I'm a PC, commercials, the cool factor was gone. Things couldn't be worse. Now things are in the exact opposite path. Cloud services, barely even a thing before Nadella became the CEO. It's now leading the way in terms of revenue growth and revenue itself. Even things that are laughed at in the national discourse, Bing, in some context, LinkedIn, bring in billions of dollars a year. Bing brought in about $8 billion in 2020. So Nadella came in short, shifted the focus from client services to cloud and infrastructure services. It is now a full-on cloud company. So what do? The basis of their revenue, they get recurring revenue through Office subscriptions, Windows subscriptions, certain types of Azure usage, now even their Xbox through Game Pass. They get consumption-based revenue through a lot of their services. Azure, many of their cloud products, many of their dev products. Gaming now, the xCloud, it's not something to be laughed at. It is truly changing the way people play games. Could completely eliminate the need for consoles or even gaming PCs. They have a first mover advantage there, a top of the line product. Can't wait to see where that goes. So finally, the why. You got a bunch of pitches here today. Why are you going to go with Microsoft? I'm a long-term investor, and as that, my goal is to buy solid businesses with optionality, strong leadership, and powerful current or projected cash flows. Optionality. They're doing more than you could possibly imagine behind the scenes on the enterprise side, and then they create new revenue streams almost daily. Teams basically created out of thin air during the pandemic, a whole new class of subscribers, a whole new class of product in real-time game streaming with the xCloud. Strong leadership. Nadella, second to none. Without him and his changes, those nasty things I mentioned earlier, like a tech dinosaur. Powerful cash flows, $45 billion in the last quarter, $160 billion in the last year, and growing 22% in the last year. Not much else to say there. So whether you vote for my pitch or not, I hope that the next time you hear FANG stocks mentioned, you don't forget about Microsoft. Let it be the forgotten FANG no more.
It's a two-part question. One is with all of that Microsoft has done, I guess if we're talking about 10x companies, how do you see that happening? And I guess how long is that in my lifetime, my kid's lifetime, my dog's lifetime? And number two is, are there any other acronyms you might suggest that might include Microsoft in it?
So I'll start with number two. Any member of the Fool or anyone that follows Bill Mann knows he came up with Panama. It's been silly for a while since Google is, well, I guess technically their stock ticker's a G, but they're Alphabet now. I've seen Kramer himself. He now says they're the Mama stocks or something, MAMAAA or something. Sorry, what was the first question? Oh, the 10X, sorry. So if I'm being frank, probably not within our lifetimes. But, a decade, 2 decades ago, if you looked at Apple and Microsoft and you saw them, you said they'd be where they were today. A $1 trillion company wasn't even conceivable. And now we've got Microsoft, 2.5. Who knows where these things could go? Inflation keeps going up. Valuations of companies keep going up.
So I got to say, thank you. But whatever Kramer says, if you've ever been on Fool Live, and Bill Mann and myself kind of at the same time came up with Manamana, and that throws in Apple, and then I'm sorry, Adobe, but I'll stop there.
So great job, Joe, first of all. In terms of your cloud providers, how would you rank Microsoft? I mean, where would you rank them against maybe the first or the top 5 competitors?
I think they'd have to be number 2. I'd love to sit here and say they're number 1, but AWS had I think Bezos said a 7-year advantage with zero competition in the world. Microsoft is right there. I'd say they're certainly above a company like Google, certainly above, the Cisco type companies of the world, but I'd say it is still a step behind AWS. They had the first mover advantage, and they went for it every chance they got.
Just a quick question regarding social. We've heard the rumors they wanted to acquire the company I'm supposed to present tonight, Pinterest, and Discord as well, apparently. So do you think they missed the boat on social, like maybe they missed on mobile a decade or so ago?
So one of Satya Nadella's priorities since taking over has been to target the revenue streams that work, essentially, and cut off, as painful as it may be, the businesses that don't work. I'm not sure if social is a full dive in. You look at a company like Google with their MySpace competitor. I don't know if that's a road they want to dive right into. Yeah.